You know, I'm right. Nick Durst here with Joe Calabrese. And Joe, we have a great guest for us today. The three of us actually have something in common. All three of us are followed by the one and only DJ Paulie D on Twitter.
Yes. There are a couple of other things that we have in common. I would say we were all Big Brother super fans. You and I, Nick, we love the show. We've loved the show for a really long time. And we actually, it's going to be a privilege because we have a former house guest, the first one that we've ever had on this podcast. So thank you for joining us. She was on Big Brother season 19. She was famously in a showmance. She's also been on other shows, including X on the Beach. She was a radio host down in Texas. We're very happy to have her on, Elena Davies. Elena, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
The crowd went wild. I'm well. How are y'all?
We're doing well. We're doing well as well.
So wait, if y'all are Big Brother fans and you asked me to be on your podcast, it's either one of two things. You love me, or wait, it's one of three things. You love me, you hate me. I'm the only one that responded to your email.
Nick would be better suited to answer that question.
Well, I don't want to blow up your spot here, Elena, but you are one of the few people who have your email address easily accessible. But also, Joe's the huge Big Brother fan. I'm more of the I caught you on X on the Beach, so two different backgrounds here. But
So Nick thinks that I'm hilarious, and Joe, these are assumptions that I'm making. Nick thinks Joe has some concerns. Joe's not sure that he wants to be here with me right now.
Joe's a big fan of your radio show.
We'll get to talking about that, but
the only thing we'll say about your season, and you'll probably disagree, but Joe and I always say that the winner of your season was the worst winner of all time, and Josh.
Of all time, that's tough. I don't know if I can agree with of all time. I will say though, I love that we're here. I love that we get to talk about it because, and this what's funny too is I, for whatever reason, started watching my own season of Big Brother yesterday for the first time in my life ever. I didn't really do that with intention, and I hated every second of it. But man, do they leave some shit out? That really me. Just whole days.
I tell Nick from a fan's perspective, I've always been able to copying, like using somebody's CBS account. I mean, now we have our own account for the house here, but I would always figure out a way to like scoop somebody else's CBS account, and I would watch the live feeds. And when you're like a super fan, it gets to the point where you're watching the live feeds, and there are days where it's like crack. It's like the stuff that you guys are doing, or they're like they're making you do, the conversations, obviously, sneaking around. You may be listening to two different conversations at once pertaining to everybody involved, and nobody knows what. The arguments, just like the little things that you guys do to create, to stay fun. I tell people all the time, it's like entirely worth it. But the problem is when the show gets cut and then gets put onto the air, there's so much stuff that you're leaving out. I explain to my mom sometimes. She's like, "Oh, I'm lost. Like, when did this happen, or how did this happen?" I'm like, "You don't watch the live feeds." So
yeah, man. And I knew they obviously can't put all of that content on the television, and I've obviously seen the show before, but to have lived it and then pull up an episode and be like, "Oh my gosh!" Like a lot, like it went. I was like, did I fall asleep? Like, did I skip a whole half an episode because y'all just left out like a lot? Really, really shocking.
Well, I mean, it's only an hour too, so it's like, how much are you going to fit in that? Really, I mean, it's a big time window, yes, but I mean, again, with everything that happens in the Big Brother house, as somebody who's watched the live feeds through the years, and used to keep Nick up to date on what was happening as I was watching the live feeds, it's just really not enough time.
Yeah, and we all think that we're like main character energy, so we're like giving main character energy like the whole time.
Yeah,
There's not
also, yeah, I've also heard in other interviews that I've listened to. You guys, I mean, I probably should ask this now. When you guys are doing diary room sessions and you're getting, specific, I guess, requests or something, did you guys have an inkling or put together who you thought was popular, who you thought wasn't popular?
It's hard to say. To an extent, yes. I mean, you can I guess everybody probably picks up on their own things, or maybe has an idea of something based on a conversation from the diary room, or even hearing when somebody gets evicted and like hearing how the crowd responds. But for example, I'm on the season with Raven, and we're both, and I remember a diary room session. Like I remember them talking to me about how like we're both Southern, and to like give some type of a comparison between the two of us. And so I believe I said something along the lines of like, she's Southern, like drinks a, sweet tea on the porch kind of vibes. And I'm Southern, like shotguns a beer at a music festival kind of vibes. That's fully how I saw us. That's how I thought they were portraying us. I know that it's probably a lot easier to villainize me. I'm a lot. I have a polarizing personality. I don't give a fuck. And then Raven is like half dead. She's, like just walking her, like just so nice, sweet. And I'm like, oh my God. Now, granted, I meet her day one and I'm like, that's fucking ridiculous. Like, I hate this so much. But I also know that they're going to make me look like an evil bitch if I say anything true or real. So I'm like, yeah, Raven. And I like pretend to be a normal person with her. Turns out they were as aware and capitalizing on her insanity, and me just acting like I didn't think she was insane was doing me no favors. I saw it from the just completely whole different point of view. Like, I'm like, they're going to just make me seem like if I say one bad thing about this almost dead girl, they're going to just ruin me. No, I wish. But
something that drives me crazy in the diary room is that, are they holding a gun to your head? Why are you all forced to say, oh my gosh, Julie, you look so beautiful tonight? Every single person has to tell her how great she looks.
Hey, I didn't. I mean, she honestly, sometimes she looks really good. Sometimes her jewelry and her outfits are whack as fuck. Like, she has no consistency in her outfits. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to say that. But I did always laugh this season after me with Haley. She would have a completely different adjective for Julie each week. And I'm like, how much do we want to lick her asshole today? Quite a bit. Not for me.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Now,
I use that time to send secret messages to my mom.
That's what you should do. Yeah, I mean, that's what the smart people do. Talk to their family members, not waste their time complimenting Julie.
Sometimes she did look really good, but like, listen, she knows that somebody else is going to tell her. She don't need to hear it from me.
Exactly. So before you're getting the Big Brother universe, what were some reality shows that you were a big fan of?
I watched Survivor and Big Brother off and on. What's funny is being on a talk morning show, we talked about reality TV, a lot about The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelorette, and other Dancing with the Stars, whatever. But I was really triggered by Bachelor stuff because it made me so aware of how much production can interfere with things, and make someone look a certain way or take cuts of things and paste this reaction to that statement when that person wasn't even there. And so that scared me when I was recruited for Big Brother. When they reached out to me, I said no, because I was like, I know exactly what you're going to do. You're going to make me look like the bad guy. And while I love attention, I just don't know if I can emotionally recover from that. So I said no, but the thing that is different about Big Brother is that I would say it has the least amount of production interference, at least tangibly so. Like, we don't see them. We don't really talk to them. The only time we talk to people is in the diary room. We don't see them there. It's a lot harder for them to interfere. Do they? Yes. The way they pitched it to me at the beginning before I joined the casting process didn't seem as capable of doing the things that they can do. But I do appreciate the integrity of the game more so. But it's still scary. They're still editing. You know what I mean? They can still do whatever they want with an edited TV show. And I learned yesterday that it's a lot.
Yeah. So what was that audition process like? It sounds like somebody reached out to you.
Yeah, I got a message on Instagram, and once I did come back, because ultimately I was trying to leave the job that I was at. I was like, well, maybe I'll let God decide. Like, if I get on the show, I'm meant to be on the show. If I don't get on, I'm not supposed to be on. And so I accepted. I had a 20-minute phone call with an assistant casting producer. He asked me some questions. I'm hilarious and entertaining, so obviously that went really well. And then I kind of jumped into just callbacks. I didn't have to go to like the big open call. I didn't have to do any of that. That first phone call, I guess, was my open call. And then I came in and I had a interview with a casting producer in front of a camera. And then I made it to finals. I had to fly to LA. I had to lie to everyone because they're pretty adamant on, like, once you're in the casting process, like, the game starts, because you're going to start seeing people that might be on your season. They don't let us speak to each other. It's a really strange, it's very, very, very detailed. A lot of personality tests, a lot of IQ tests, a lot of psychiatrists, a lot of doctors. And it, like, I was casting basically, I cast from March to June. I had to fly to LA twice. And then it's weird, like, in your first finals in LA, you could be there for 2 days or you could be there for 7 days. You, like, have no way to prepare. They will literally cut you in the middle of the casting process and send you home. So it's very strange. It's very overwhelming. It's lonely. But it's also exciting because you're like, ooh, maybe I'm gonna be rich.
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up your radio gig before you went on the show, and I wanted to ask you specifically, so you do the whole pre-show interview process. They always ask you specific questions. They always say, are you going to take your persona into the Big Brother house? Are you going to play a different way? Are you going to lay low? You're going to go in guns blazing? So for you, did you want to take your radio host persona into the house and kind of dial it up? And I guess the way to ask this would be, like, when you were in the house, obviously realizing you have cameras around you 24/7, knowing that you have to create kind of a caricature to have people at home rooting for you and enjoying the show. When you were in the house, what was the percentage of the balance of you acting normal, like how you would just normally would in your everyday life, and playing it up for the cameras a little bit?
Playing it up for the cameras, I would say almost none. I am like this unless I am sitting alone in my bed high as fuck. This is me. I am ridiculous. I want to entertain you. I want to make you laugh. Even if you're not entertained by it, like, I'm fucking entertained by it. Okay. Like, I am making myself laugh. That is just who I am. I will say I try to tone myself down more because I am aware that growing up, I've been, and maybe it's just mostly where I've been growing up at, but people are like, you're a fucking lot. Can you not? So I was like, maybe I need to kind of not do so much at the beginning. I knew that people were going to underestimate my intelligence, underestimate my physical ability, but I even tone down a little bit, people are going to like me. Like, I'm very likable. Once you get to know me and you don't have a choice, you're trapped in the house with me. So I was like, I'll play a good social game at the beginning. I won't do too much. I won't be too much. And then, like, you know, once you get past that certain point, it's time to like turn it up. And you don't really ever know when that is until you know, like when you're in the house. But looking back, I wish I hadn't done that. I think that like I played my game way too reserved at the beginning. I wish I would have just been 100% authentically myself in every scenario, social and game wise, because I think authenticity translates across the board. I think that even if people don't agree, they at least respect it. And I wasn't always authentic. So I wish that looking back, I wish that I would have just played with more instinct rather than trying to tone myself down or be like, rethink my decisions because I didn't think they were going to play out for me. Nothing's going to play out for you. It's the Big Brother house. Might as well just do what you want to do.
How much nicer is the jury house living conditions wise as opposed to the Big Brother house?
They make it look a lot nicer, I'll tell you that. I'm like, I saw some of the B-roll of our jury house and I'm like, y'all missed the like section in the backyard that's trashed. Like the hot tub doesn't even work.
Wow.
It's not terrible. The jury house is different every year, so everybody has a different jury experience. But I mean, yeah, it's better because we can go outside whenever we want. We get to like eat whatever food sort of that we want. We can watch old TV shows. I watched all of Dexter and jury. Pretty morbid. But you know, you can read a book.
Wow.
So
but no communication with your family still.
Oh God, no. I was evicted the day before my birthday and I sat in the jury house alone with it. Like, I didn't even know the house manager. Like, I literally, she was like, oh, is it your birthday? Well, technically it was the second, but still, it's, I mean, I was with Cody, like Cody is my man, but he also doesn't talk that much.
Sure. Can we also talk about how you were evicted? Because you are in the very elite group of people who have been eliminated and evicted in a double eviction.
Yeah, yes. Those hoes were too afraid to try to get me out otherwise.
Your biggest nightmare is being the target in the double, because I know you're in your head, you're thinking about like, oh shit, I haven't packed yet, right? You're thinking about like, are they going to get my stuff together properly? Can I trust them, right? But walk me through the experience of, unfortunately, being double evicted.
So lucky for me, I was packed because I was already on the block next to Cody. So, and you have to pack no matter what. Now, double eviction was tough because they announced it at the beginning of the live show for us. So when Julie comes on and we're like, hey, Julie, you look amazing tonight. She was like, it's a double eviction. So I was like, literally every thought in my mind was, because you know the plan week by week. I'm like, okay, they're gonna evict Cody because they hate him more than me. I get that. He's more of a threat, whatever. Then the second I know it's double eviction, I'm like, all right, so it's either me or Mark going home tonight, unless one of us wants an HOH. And so yeah, that it's like my life is literally on the line. And when you're not in a double eviction, like you have, man, the deck reshuffles every day in the Big Brother house. I can make a target out of nothing. Like, we will do the wildest shit to get the attention off of us. In that few days of eviction, you have that veto, you can talk to people. I literally had 10 minutes. And the whole house is against me. Like I'm the underdog in this scenario. I'm not going to talk them into keeping me. I'm actively not wanting them in the house. Why would they keep me? I have nothing to say. So, I mean, it sucks. Double eviction sucks ass. But I wouldn't have gone home if Mark hadn't won the veto. I wish that he would not have won the veto. He's better at puzzles than me, and his hands are bigger. So there was only so much I could do. Jason would have won the veto if Mark didn't, in which case Mark would have been sent home. But then I would have been left alone in the house. It would have been me against everyone. But it sucks. It sucks. It's all a whirlwind. It's like you don't have any time to prepare or think. And my double eviction was even worse than any other double eviction in the world, I would say, because of the HOH we played for the double eviction. It was not a solo gameplay. It was 2 against 2, which means that when it was my turn to compete in the HOH, Josh got to pick who I was competing against. He picked the only ally I had in the house. So we had 1 shot at HOH instead of 2 shots at HOH. And I'm not very good at shuffleboard, apparently. So it sucks. Double eviction sucks. Hate it.
Yeah. Now you come out of the house finally after months and probably check your phone. How much did your social following grow from that? And when did you realize, hey, maybe I'm onto something here? I could make this into a profitable lifestyle.
Took a minute. I had about 28,000 followers when I went into the Big Brother house from my time on the Kid Craddock morning show. I believe, this is actually funny, I remember being in finale, like sitting on stage, finaleing out. And the jury house, we were sitting on one side, the pre-jury is sitting on the other side. It's the first time I've seen Jessica since she got evicted. And we're trying to talk to each other, like mouth to each other in commercial breaks. And she's like, your mom is flying here. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And she's like, you have 120,000 followers. Like just trying to tell me like what's happening in the world. So I remember that so clearly. So I know that when I finale'd out, I had 120,000 followers or somewhere around there. The showmance thing, man, that really does it for some people. That's something I didn't really realize, because I would have been actively more interested in getting in a showmance just strategically for that. Otherwise, but I mean, I guess it worked out for me because I was bored enough to continue to make out with that guy even after I said I didn't want to. But yeah, I think that helped a lot. My Instagram following jumped up quite a bit. And honestly, I just go back to the truth. And it's just that I'm really awesome, hilarious, and funny and relatable. So people enjoy following me. And I've been able to grow my following a little bit more since then. I didn't really intend on that being my job. I wanted to go back into radio. But now I have my own podcast. And so I guess dreams come true in the way that they're meant to. And I'm very happy with my life because look at me, I sit in my bed.
All right. So then you get contacted for X on the Beach. So obviously you know what you're going into. But in your head, you're probably thinking, well, this is going to be a payday. So why don't I go ahead and go for this? What was that process like? Much nicer living scenario, I would think, for the limited time you were there as far as the house goes. And what was your reaction when you get there and you're like, wow, Aubrey O'Day's on this show? I mean, that's kind of a crazy.
Well,
How was she allowed to have her own glam team in the house? I mean, pretty wild.
She didn't.
She didn't? They showed her once getting her hair and makeup done.
She'd be in the bathroom by herself, putting 3 eyelash strips on one eye. I'm like, sis, are you well? Yeah, I think maybe once or twice she like got to have her own glam team when it was like something important. She really thought she was super special. God bless her heart. It was definitely a different experience. It better and worse in a lot of ways. I would rather film an entire season of Big Brother again than another 5 days in the X on the Beach house. But that has way more to do with the fact that I'd actually just been heartbroken in a really traumatic public way from a relationship that meant a lot to me that I had been in for over a year. And most of the other relationships in the X on the Beach house are just like a stretch. Like we were on the same TV show one time and like made out for a second. And that wasn't the case for me. Mark and I broke up in February. They contacted us in March. We started hooking up again in March. And then we kind of made an agreement. He really wanted to go on the challenge. And I didn't care to go on X on the Beach or anything else. So that was me being just like, spineless and like doing something for a man who cheated on me. Silly. Women do that sometimes. It's embarrassing. I hate that I have to admit that about myself. But yeah, I basically agreed to go on X on the Beach because that would be his opportunity to get filtered into the challenge house. And we kind of had an agreement. We were like, look, obviously these are real feelings involved. Let's just try to be as respectful as possible. we're already hooking up again. Maybe like he was like telling me, oh, maybe we can get back together. Like he was definitely manipulating the situation and like, well, maybe this will be a good way for us to find out if we can get back together. So I'm thinking the best going into it. I also negotiate myself, you're right, a pretty good payday. And then they switch it up on us last minute. I was going to be, instead of the single, I was going to be the ex coming in, and which worked out fine for me because that just means I negotiated even more of a payday. So I was like, you're not going to do that to me unless you give me guaranteed pay. So buckle up. And yeah, I walk in on a date to Mark and Aubrey O'Day. Now, what y'all don't know, what the public doesn't know, is that Mark is horny for Pauly D. Super horny for Pauly D. Always has been. Which is so funny that we start this podcast off by saying he follows me on Twitter, not Mark. Mark like drove like 5 hours one time in New York to go to some like event that he was like DJing at the beach to meet him, and he was a dickhole to him. But shout out to Pauly D, thank you for that. So Mark could not be happier about being in Aubrey O'Day's presence. And
Would have been something if Pauly D showed up.
I know, right? I think
couldn't
that
afford
was
him.
No. I think that was his hope. He's like, oh my God, Pauly D's gonna be here. And I think ultimately maybe that was his goal, is like get rid of Elena. And then once Pauly D comes on, then he could actually end up with Pauly D. I don't know. I'm not sure, but looking back, what I mostly realized is that was like Mark's little vacation. He loved the attention. He loved it. He loved the attention, which like, I can't blame him. I love attention too. But he was really trying to do some main character energy. He wanted to get Elena out of the way so that like he would be on the challenge. I think that was his goal. And have sex with more than one girl on the same TV show. Who doesn't want to put that on their resume? So that's what he did. And I, again, because self-respect was not on sale, took him back again after that, even though it was like one of the most traumatic things I've ever been through. By the way, have you ever watched your boyfriend have sex with Aubrey O'Day on TV before? It sucks.
Unfortunately,
Pretty
can't
bad.
say we have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
At least,
It's not
I
cute.
mean, it seems like you made some friendships out of the show. It seems like you're pretty tight with our fellow Staten Islander Marie. How were the other people in the house? Obviously, they evicted you right away, but anybody there that you kind of got along with, or was everybody just an asshole?
No, I literally hate all of them. There's two people from that. There are three people that I have respect for from that show, and I actually have not even met one of them before. Cam, I like. Cara, I like, and then Marie. I've never met her, but she has good taste. She's like obviously recognizes how awesome and funny I am. So we became friends, and I adore her. But everybody else can, yeah, I hate them so much. Truly.
Have you been contacted by any other reality show since X on the Beach to come on and turn it down?
Yes.
Interesting. So in your mind, unless the right opportunity came along, you're done with reality TV.
Yeah. Reality TV they make it look really fun, even on Big Brother, which Joe watched live feeds, you see the fun that we create, but you probably also see the misery.
I can see why they put you through the ringer in the whole process, because I guess they want to see what people are going to be willing to do in their spare time.
They want you to crack.
House. Yeah, they want you to crack. Some do. Most people from your season were a little kooky.
Had a weird cast.
Very, very weird cast. I want to ask you, how's Allison? Because everybody always kind of says something different about her. A lot of people praise her. A lot of people have not praised her. A lot of people are entitled to their own opinion. So you were entitled to yours. How is she?
She's cool. She's fine. I mean, she's a boss ass bitch. Like, you can't deny that. Obviously she's a successful, important person. Like, try to take that away from her. You can't. I don't really think that she has a lot of respect for me because I didn't vote for Paul. I don't have a lot of respect for my experience because I felt like they were pressuring us to vote for Paul. And I don't feel like that was fair. Like, that's not what the game is. So that's something that kind of bothered me about some of the EPs and some of the casting people that were involved then. You shouldn't get to, that's not your job. And I didn't like that. But I don't, other than that, I don't really care. I love, like, Sean Laws is one of the EPs and I adore her. I think she's precious. She, like, sends me a happy birthday email every year. She does it for everyone. She truly is invested in us and loves us as people. We're like her babies. If you're not a CBS favorite, if you don't matter to CBS's like long-term anything, I don't think Allison Grodner's thought about me once since I left season 19. So I don't think about her that much either.
So either in, you know, your time with reality TV or your career pre or post reality television, what is one scenario where you may have been told, hey, you got to do this, or this is something you should do, and you said, you know what, I'm going to do this my way, and you know I'm right about it, and it has ended up working out for you?
Post reality TV?
Post, pre, during, up to you.
I mean, there's some times I gave some attitude, I will say, to story producers in the diary room, because they look, the way that story producers work is they are trying to create a story. Obviously, there's 6 different ones of them. They're all working on their different storyline for their different episode. They will call you in at 2 a.m. in the middle of being asleep because that's the shift they're working to get some sound bites or whatever. So a lot of times they're like, yeah, well, don't you want to say this thing about Jess and Cody? And I'm like, I don't really feel that way though. But if you kind of, what if it's like, and they'll kind of make you want to say that thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably some things that I was just like, you know what? Yeah, give me the line, whatever I need to say so I can get the fuck out of here. But there were times where I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not like, are you on the show or is it me? You're wanting to make me say this? Okay, give it to me one more time and I'll say it exactly how you want me to say it. Like basically calling them out for doing that. And they kind of stopped themselves. But I wasn't ready to really be 100% myself. I was a very scared 26-year-old, afraid of what being myself would do for myself. Now, I will say, as a 31-year-old who has experienced the highs and lows of being in the public eye enough, I don't give a fuck. You can like me, you can not like me, you can agree with me, you can disagree with me. I'm good with me. I don't give a fuck about what anybody else thinks about me because who are you? You know, like if you are not paying my bills or making me come, you don't get to have a say. Those are the things I do for me. So I get to have a say. But I would say now it literally is working out well. I've never been more successful in anything I do than the last year, where I have been so authentically unashamed of being myself. I've gotten more opportunities, more collaborations, because I think authenticity is that. Not all of my followers agree with everything I do, but the ones that are there, they respect me, they like me.
Last question before we let you go, about your followers and about the whole community in general. Once you go on the show, obviously everybody who stepped foot into the house, once they get out, there's the realization they're like, oh, wow, this show is really, really popular. You kind of see all your followers, kind of see the people who you were rooting for you when you were in the house. I'm sure you probably got people reach out to you, talk to you. What is the best part about the Big Brother community and what is the worst?
Great question. The best part and the worst part about the Big Brother community is the same thing. It is how much they fucking care. Nobody, no other reality TV show has fans that care, that are this invested as Big Brother fans. And that is the best and the worst, because they will go out of their way to adore you, and they will go out of their way and then further out of their way and then like another left and like flip a bitch and right down the road and then 2,000 miles out of their way to ruin your life. So it's both. It's that. like the ones that are awesome are so awesome. I will literally, like, they will come in town. They will visit me. I will go take them to Chili's. I swear I've made friends with fans, but then there are people that I'm like, okay, so death threats, huh?
Yeah, that's not good.
Nervous.
Yeah,
But-
I promise Nick and I, we're the when is the first endurance competition? When is Zingbot? When's the double eviction? We're more of the milestones kind of viewers.
Yeah,
We're looking forward to everything play out like we know how it's gonna play out. But I'm a traditionalist. I hate twists. The less twists, the better. I know that you have to expect the unexpected, right, and all that. But I mean, sometimes just keep it simple, you know?
honestly, I think they use the twist to, that's how production gets involved.
Right.
Like, I'll tell you this. This is the easiest way for me to explain to you how production has control over the game. Right after Jessica's HOH, the house evicts Ramses. We all thought we were evicting Josh. I would have won the next HOH. And on Thursday, not being filmed because it's live day, we're getting ready for live show. I stop Raven, Matt, and Paul in the living room, and I say, I think something's up with the votes, and I think you know what's up with it. Do you want to tell me? And they're like, we have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, okay, if something happens with this vote, you better watch your fucking back next week. And they knew that it was probably going to be either me or Paul that won the HOH. And hey, can't blame Paul. He played the game. But right after, it was a memory comp. They gave us something to memorize. Right after we sat there and memorized it, he sent Kevin in to the room to try to confuse one thing for me. One thing out of the 3,000 things we were looking at. Then he had someone else who was like, hey, he literally told his entire side of the house, tell Elena it's just this one thing. They probably could have asked us 10,000 different types of questions for the HOH. The first question they asked was the one thing that he got the house to confuse me on. Because when I sit in a room alone by myself with Mark and we talk about what we're going to do, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put Josh and Alex on the block. Then we're going to backdoor Paul. They already paid Paul extra money to be there. Paul's the fancy vet. He's the one getting the views or whatever. He's got guaranteed pay. Let's use him. Yeah. So I don't get to be HOH because Paul doesn't get to leave. See what I mean?
He was tipped off.
Understood.
Like that. So, I mean, it's still my fault. I still should have gotten the answer right? But you also asked that question because you did not want me to win. And I didn't.
Right. You know, I totally understood your point of view there. But we were very happy to have you on. Your
Thank you.
From everything happening in the house was excellent. Ton of energy.
I scare y'all?
No,
we're New Yorkers.
We're from New York.
Scares us.
Nothing scares us.
We've rode the subway. We've been to Times Square.
I rode the subway yesterday to go to a Yankees game. So we're pretty
living in
okay
New York is like what I imagine a double eviction would be. Just like constantly, just like I don't know what's gonna happen next.
Depends on where you are, but
we y'all are fun. I'm glad that I responded to y'all's email.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. You have a podcast as well. So you have Miscellaneous. Go listen to it, check it out.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a bunch of people view this video because our entertainers tend to do pretty well. So we're very happy about that. But if there's anything else you would like to share, promote, Elena, go right ahead. Floor is all yours. We always give our guests here the last word. So thanks again for coming on and doing this with us.
That's so sexy. That's my favorite thing is the last word. No, I'm grateful that y'all gave me a chance. Even if I wasn't your favorite Big Brother player, I'm the one that answered your email. So I'm the most responsive. So you got to give me that.
So far we're batting 1,000. I've emailed one Big Brother person and we got them on. So now we can build our clientele based off your
Wait, so I was the only one you emailed?
So far, I mean, I can't. It's not easy to find their emails. You know, you're more of a personable person.
But we went 1 for 1, so.
Who'd y'all look at? But whose Instagram did you go to first? You're like, ooh, Tyler Crispin.
No, I don't know who that is. Basically, I just, I'm reaching out to people all the time. When people's Instagrams pop up on my feed, and I see they have their email available or a manager email, that's how I'm going to reach out to them. I'm not really actively searching. And it was just great timing, Big Brother finale coming up. So you should be honored, Elena.
Honestly, I would like to point out how honored we both should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
But no, I'm grateful. This is fun. Y'all are cool. Good questions. I don't care. Come follow me on Instagram. I have fun on stories. All I want to do every day is make somebody laugh. That's why I don't think I care that I got back into radio, because I'm just being able to do the thing that I want to do on Instagram and on my podcast. So I'm at Elena Davies on Instagram, ELENA DAVIES. We have fun in stories. We talk about anything and everything, weird shit, normal shit. And then my podcast, a miscellaneous podcast. Every Tuesday, we talk about miscellaneous things, whatever the fuck I want. And I'm going to make you smile and laugh every single day. That's the goal.
Excellent. All right, Elena, it's been a blast. We were really happy to have you on. Thanks for coming on. This is going to do it for this episode of You Know I'm Right. So far, our very special guest, Elena, and my co-host, Joe. I am Nick, and this has been You Know I'm Right.